Hello, I'm Muhammed Ahmad Hamdan and you're watching 7Edition. The headlines. New policy requires review on old buildings every 5 years. Police launch probe into Rome Statute Forum. Good evening. In light of some cracks that occurred at an apartment block at Taman Keramat Permai PKNS flats in Kuala Lumpur, the government will be monitoring low-cost homes built by the state on a 5-year basis. Housing and Local Governments Minister Zuraida Kamarudin said all buildings are subject to review every 5 years under this new policy.
Yang keduanya, dalam dasar perumahan negara memang ada program redevelopment. Jadi bangunan-bangunan yang berumur 30 tahun ke atas, kita akan berikan tumpuan untuk redevelopment. Terutamanya rumah-rumah kos rendah yang terletak di tanah-tanah bukit, tanah-tanah tinggi dan tanah-tanah yang lembap dan sebagainya. Jadi ini tapi bangunan ini baru 28 tahun tadi. Jadi walau bagaimanapun kita akan mengkaji dan melihat, dan pada long termnya insya-Allah kita akan banci penduduk-penduduk di kawasan ini.
She was speaking to reporters after visiting the Taman Keramat Permai flats with Economic Affairs Minister Datuk Sri Azmin Ali today. Zuraida said the mechanics of such a policy are still being worked out and that she will meet with state agencies to discuss a long-term plan on how to implement it. Meanwhile, Datuk Sri Azmin is supportive of the ruling, saying the redevelopment of low-cost flats will benefit the residents. Meanwhile, a technical report including recommendations for the cracks found in Taman Keramat Permai apartment building is expected to be submitted to the Selangor government by next week. Datuk Sri Azmin said the displaced residents of the affected Block F may be allowed to return to their homes before Ramadan if the situation is deemed safe.
The Economic Affairs Minister said there had not been any significant structural movements in the past 3 days.
Dan sekiranya siasatan mendapati struktur bangunan ini selamat untuk diduduki, maka kita jangkakan sebelum Ramadan penduduk dan pemilik boleh kembali ke unit masing-masing. Tetapi sekiranya findings ataupun dapatan itu sebaliknya, maka saya akan berbincang dengan kerajaan negeri dan juga pihak PKNS apakah langkah-langkah yang perlu diambil.
Datuk Sri Azmin also assured the displaced residents will not be financially burdened by the costs of finding temporary housing or repairs to fix the cracks that have appeared in their homes. He said state-owned PKNS will bear all costs involved, while a cash aid of 500 ringgit will be disbursed to each of the 37 affected families to assist them in their time of need.
Kerja-kerja pembaikan itu mengambil masa yang agak lama untuk dibaiki, dan ini akan ditanggung oleh pihak PKNS kerana bangunan ini masih lagi strata title-nya atas nama, block title atas nama PKNS. Dan saya telah berbincang dengan CEO PKNS, sekiranya bangunan ini boleh didiami dengan sedikit pemulihan dan pembaikan, PKNS sedia untuk menanggung kos pembaikan unit-unit yang berkenaan.
Datuk Sri Azmin said the Ampang Jaya Municipal Council has identified a few newly completed buildings that can be used to house the displaced residents.
Police have kicked off a probe into the Rome Statute Forum, organised at University Malaya last Saturday under the Sedition Act. Inspector General of Police Tan Sri Muhammad Fuzi Harun said several reports had been lodged over the forum and police would be calling in several people involved, including the organisers, to record their statements.
Among those who spoke at the forum was sociologist and veteran politician Professor Dr. Syed Hussein Ali.
Saya tahu ada statement dibuat, ada pihak buat laporan NGO yang tak puas hati dan sebagainya, kita siasatlah laporan dah dibuat kan. Kita bagi siasat ni sama ada dibawa ke hasutan ataupun lain-lain undang yang berkaitan.
Hours after the forum, two non-governmental organizations, NGOs, have lodged a police report at the Brickfields police station, claiming that a speaker had uttered words that evoked hatreds against the rulers during the discussion. The forum on the Rome Statute was organized by civil society groups, including Patriot, Sisters in Islam, G25, ABIM and Gerak. Apart from Attorney General Tommy Thomas and Dr. Said Hussein, other panelists were University Malaya constitutional law expert, Emeritus Professor Datuk Shah Salim Faruqi, and former student activists Ashik Ali Safi Alawi and Lim Wei Jia.
Meanwhile, police have opened an investigation paper under the Communications and Multimedia Commission MCMC Act in connection with the Sesi Teh Tarik 4 Putra Mahkota Bersama Rakyat program. These followed several police reports against UMNO Supreme Council member Datuk Lokman Nur Adam.
Bila siasatan ni buka dah tentu kita kena ambil statement dekat dia. Jadi kita tunggulah. Kita akan siapkan siasatan ni secepat mungkin.
Yesterday, the Selangor Raja Muda's office denied the involvement of Raja Muda Selangor Tengku Amir Shah Sultan Sharafuddin in the Sesi Teh Tarik 4 Putra Mahkota Bersama Rakyat organised by UMNO. Pahang Region Tengku Hassan Al-Ibrahim Alam Shah Al-Sultan Abdullah also denied his involvement in the program. On Monday, Datuk Lokman shared a poster of the program on social media, which stated it would be held at Mahkota Parade, Bandar Hilir, Melaka at 5:30 p.m. yesterday. Police today reported that a woman believed to have been travelling in and out of Sabah as a drug mule was nabbed in Sandakan last week. The suspect, who is a foreigner, was found with a box containing shabu worth about 380,000 ringgit.
Sabah Police Chief Dato' Omar Mama said the 40-year-old woman had been entering and exiting Sabah quite often using a valid passport. During last Tuesday's raid, she was found with a huge box containing 7 kilograms of shabu ready to be smuggled out of Sabah. Upon inspection, police found 6 packets of the substance packed in biscuits and coffee packaging. The suspect has been remanded until April 30th to assist in the investigation for drug trafficking. Police are also looking for her husband, who they believe has gone into hiding.
In Terengganu, a State Drainage and Irrigation Department DID assistant engineer and his wife are being held to facilitate a probe into a case involving abuse of power over several projects since 2015. The DID officer was remanded for 6 days, while his wife for 5 days. The remand order was issued today by Kuala Terengganu Magistrates and Sessions Court Assistant Registrar Rosita Matsaad. According to sources from the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission MACC, the married couple were believed to have abused their contractor license to secure various projects. At the moment, the total value of the project spanning 3 years is still being tabulated. The assistant engineer is said to have an interest and is responsible for monitoring all related projects.
Meanwhile, at the Putrajaya Magistrates Court today, a Datuk Sri and a Datuk were released on bail after being in remand for 4 days. They are being investigated for allegedly bribing enforcement officers of a ministry involving thousands of ringgit. Magistrate Shahwira Abdul Halim allowed the 49-year-old female Datuk Sri, a chief executive officer, to be released on a 40,000 ringgit bail with one surety, with bail for the 55-year-old Datuk, the company's advisor, was set at 15,000 ringgit with one surety. The duo were ordered to report to the MACC office once a month. Both were held on April 26 to assist a probe into the case after they were believed to have worked in cohorts to bribe enforcement officers of a ministry to not take action against the company for illegal deposit activities sometime in 2017.
A former special officer to Datuk Seri Hishamuddin Hussein has been arrested by the MACC on suspicion of being the mastermind behind the awarding of contracts involving the Defence Ministry. It is learned that the suspect, a Dato in his 50s, was arrested around noon at the MACC headquarters in Putrajaya after giving his statement. According to sources, initial investigations showed the suspect had received kickbacks from contractors for helping them in getting contracts worth millions of ringgit. This includes the supply of aircraft equipment valued at 1.8 million ringgit. MACC Deputy Chief Commissioner Datuk Sri Azam Baki, who confirmed the arrest at the suspect, will be remanded tomorrow to assist investigations. And when we return, your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man spotted in Malaysia. Details next. Welcome back. A woman was killed after the four-wheel drive she was travelling in was crushed by a lorry on Jalan Kota Marudu Pitas near Dataran Bengkoka in Pitas, Sabah. Police said the 6:15 a.m. crash occurred when the lorry driver who was heading to Telupit swerved into the opposite lane after he lost control of his vehicle and rammed into the victim's 4x4. The 34-year-old teacher from Kota Belud died at the scene due to severe head injuries, while the lorry driver escaped with minor injuries. An initial probe revealed that the accident was caused by the lorry driver's negligence. Now, the 30-year-old man is in custody to facilitate the investigation under the Road Transport Act for causing death by reckless driving. The Kuala Lumpur High Court has dismissed Datuk Seri Najib Tun Razak's application to strike out the charges in his corruption trial. Judge Muhammad Nazlan Muhammad Ghazali ruled that the charges against the former Premier were not structured in a way that could mislead or prejudice him to the point he could not put up a proper defence. Last Friday, Datuk Seri Najib's defence lawyers argued that the charges could prejudice the case as they lacked clarity and clashed with each other. The Deputy Public Prosecutor, Datuk V. Sithambaram, replied that the charges were not vague, as it should be read together with supplementary documents furnished by the prosecution. He added that Parliament created specific laws for different crimes, so it was fair to bring charges under each law. Also today, the court said that Datuk Seri Najib's trial relating to 42 million ringgit of SRC funds will continue through Ramadan, though his One Malaysia Development Berhad 1MDB case may be postponed. During the Muslim fasting month, the trial, which will commence at 9 a.m., will end at 3:30 p.m. And now let's hop onto our daily segment Clickbait, where we take a look at what's trending and making rounds in the cyber world today. The Avengers Endgame fever is not only sweeping through fans across the globe, but even Post-Malaysia has decided to join in on the fun too. In a Facebook post on Wednesday, Post-Malaysia uploaded a photo of one of the mailmen delivering mail while dressed in a Spider-Man costume. And, of course, netizens loved it. Take a look.
One of the company's spokesperson told Malay Mail that the main purpose of this photo, taken near Central Market, was to appreciate and celebrate its own heroes, postmen. Not only that, Post Malaysia wanted to encourage the public to acknowledge the postmen for their utmost dedication, as they are one of the real heroes in reality. It is understood the now famous Spider-Man is an employee of the National Courier Company. Even though Spider-Man was busy delivering mail, he was also spotted taking time to chat with a fellow citizen while waiting at a traffic light. The post has been receiving hundreds of shares and comments about the gimmick. One netizen joked, saying the postman did not have enough time to change his uniform. Some even asked if this could potentially be the new uniform for postmen in Malaysia. Well, the postmen are obviously our unsung heroes of Malaysia, braving through traffic and bad weather to deliver our mail.
After the break, Sri Lanka bans face veils in pursuit of suspected militants. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the foreign front. Indonesia's Navy said that the Vietnamese Coast Guard rammed one of its vessels off the coast of Borneo as it moved to intercept a boat suspected of fishing illegally in its waters. The Navy then arrested a dozen Vietnamese fishermen after the high seas clash in the southernmost reaches of the South China Sea on Saturday. Jakarta claims the area as its exclusive economic zone, waters where a state has the right to exploit resources. The Navy said 2 Vietnamese Coast Guard ships tried to prevent the apprehension by ramming its vessel, causing damage to the hull. Indonesian authorities said the fishing boat sank, possibly due to an accidental collision. 2 fishermen managed to escape detention by jumping into the water before being picked by the Vietnamese Coast Guard, which then fled. Indonesia has been trying to stop foreign vessels fishing illegally in its territory, claiming it costs the economy billions of dollars annually. It recently inaugurated a new military base in a chain of several hundred small islands to beef up its border defense. Authorities in Sri Lanka on Monday banned women from wearing face veils under an emergency law put in place after deadly Easter Sunday attacks by Daesh militants. The measures would help security forces to identify people as a hunt for any remaining attackers, and their support network continues across the Indian Ocean island. But there are concerns within the Muslim community that a prolonged ban could fuel tensions in the religiously diverse nation.
Officials have warned that the militants behind the April 21st suicide bombings on hotels and churches that killed over 250 people were planning more attacks using a van and bombers disguised in military uniforms. A spokesman for President Maithripala Sirisena announced that it is a presidential order to ban any dress covering faces with immediate effect. Separately, Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe issued a statement saying he had asked the Justice Minister to draft regulations to ban the burqa. The Al Ceylon Jamiatul Ulama, the top body of Islamic scholars in Sri Lanka, said they supported a short-term ban on security grounds, but opposed any attempt to legislate against burqas. About 9.7% of Sri Lanka's roughly 22 million people are Muslim. Only a small minority of women, usually in Muslim areas, fully hide their faces. However, Human Rights Watch condemned the ban. Its executive director Kenneth Roth expressed that such needless practice may limit Muslim women who do such practices from leaving their homes. Meanwhile, Sri Lanka's incumbent police chief has refused to step down over the Easter Sunday suicide attacks, despite Sirisena has named his successor on Monday. The president said Friday that police chief Pujith Jayasundara had resigned, but officials said Jayasundara never sent the letter and has remained in his government residence. Sirisena added that Jayasundara is effectively suspended, pending his former removal through an impeachment motion in Parliament for defying him.
An Australian border force system outage has caused major delays at international airports across Australia, affecting passengers departing from and landing in the country. Smart gate passport control machines were down at all international airports, causing lengthy delays from 6 a.m. on Monday. Around 2,000 passengers were packed into Sydney's International Customs checkpoint at one stage, with similar issues in Melbourne. Dozens of travellers took to social media to vent their frustration as huge crowds continued to jam in the overflowing terminal. The Australian Border Force said it was working with the Department of Home Affairs to resolve the outage, which is affecting the processing of inbound and outbound passengers. Passengers are encouraged to arrive early at the airport to allow extra time for processing. The delays for departures were between 2 and 39 minutes, and the arrivals were between 65 and 70. Avengers Endgame has absolutely smashed box office records on its opening weekend, taking $1.2 billion globally and a record $350 million in just North America. To top it off, the film shattered records in the biggest opening weekend numbers in 44 markets globally. The Avengers finale has far exceeded even its own studio expectations. The movie had been forecast to open between $260 million and $300 million in US and Canadian cinemas, but moviegoers turned out in such droves that Endgame blew past the previous record of $257.7 million, set last year by Avengers Infinity War. Worldwide, it obliterated the previous record of $640.5 million, also set by Infinity War. Endgame set a new weekend record in China too, where it made $330.5 million.